Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. I'm coming to you live from New Delhi, where the India AI Impact Summit 2026 has brought the world together like never before. More than 20 heads of state, from France's Macron to Brazil's Lula, and leaders across the global south, they're all here alongside tech giants like Sam Altman and Sundar Pichai. At this pivotal moment, with fresh reports of AI systems making autonomous decisions, rapidly improving themselves, and posing potentially existential questions, they're confronting the toughest questions head-on: governance, safety, and humanity's role in an intelligence explosion. Now, the expected Delhi Declaration could set the global roadmap. We'll come to that in a little while from now. But I'm watching every development in AI. I find it fascinating. And let me, at the onset of this program, before I introduce my guests, bring you a list of some of the latest challenges and some of the latest opportunities when it comes to AI. So, top concerns about AI. First up, let's bring up the key point over here about misinformation and deepfakes. This erodes trust in legacy media, in reality as well. We've got laws against that in India, but it does continue to be a huge problem. Cybersecurity, the next point that we are looking at over here, that has vulnerabilities from AI exploits, data leaks, and attacks. So AI security leaks, quite clearly something that we need to be very, very worried about. And then, of course, there's the entire issue of job displacement and economic shifts from automation. Some reports are now suggesting that as many as 50% of all entry-level jobs in several cognitive areas where you need application of your mind can in fact be replaced by AI. So that's something that we need to look out for as well. Autonomous agents independently deciding and acting in real-world tasks. What's the threat? Rapid autonomy shrinks human intervention, leading to potentially unfixable errors or harm at scale. This is perhaps the biggest problem that we now face, that the technology is evolving at a pace, at a speed, which is so fast that a lot of people don't really know where it's headed and whether enough is being done to regulate this at a global level. Recursive self-improvement, this is perhaps the scariest of them all, where AI quickly iterates and upgrades its own intelligence. The threat: it triggers exponential intelligence explosions, it outpaces human control or safety fixes. Then, of course, there are misaligned, super-capable systems pursuing goals diverging from human values. And I should mention, I'm not trying to scare you, this is all being reported fairly widely. And the threat of that is that self-improving smarts amplify tiny misalignments into catastrophic or existential outcomes. But if I've scared you, let me also talk briefly about the real potential of AI. Healthcare advancements through better diagnostics, that's absolutely key, right? Drug discovery and personalized care. Scientific and research acceleration, unlocking faster discoveries and predictions. Productivity and efficiency gains, automating tasks and amplifying human work. So those are a couple of areas which are absolutely key in terms of the opportunities that AI has. So we've got this huge AI Impact Summit in India. I'm now joined by Vivek Agarwal of the Tony Blair Institute. He's the country director in India. Jibu Elias, a fellow at the Mozilla Foundation and a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Futures Council on AI. Nandan Mishra is co-founder and CEO of Algo8 and Algo8 AI, and a former member of the National Committee on IT. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Nandan, let me come to you first. We will talk about the AI Impact Summit, I assure you. But I am just curious to understand whether you have concerns about the pace at which certain AI apps are actually evolving, the fact that they can replicate their capabilities in a finite period of time, and no one really knows if a kill switch will work in the future.
Okay, so I think what I've understood as far as, so it's a very innovation-centric question, and how do you regulate innovation? And see, I would say that India is in a very unique position because the data access that we have is very interesting in that sense. And today, whatever AI exists today has less of India's access, although India has a lot of digital users. So I would say the key constraints of replication of AI, and especially is the context in which it is applied. And context is heavily driven by the data that you feed into it. So how you are making the AI access the data is the actual control lever, which will still exist. What AI would be able to do is, yes, if you have built something in a particular context, it will be able to transfer and replicate as per that context, or generate more context like that. But it is not going to, so the kill switch will always be there, provided we build it in like a platform. And that is where the shared governance principles, etc., which the Delhi Declaration has talked about, are important. So it's not like that, it's going to become an oversight erosion. Okay, yes, I agree that if we put in agents to build agents, it can also simultaneously lead to model collapse, which is the collapse of the way AI is generating the insight. So it might not be as insightful. So the human in loop architectural thinking will always be relevant. I'm being very candid.
You are playing down some of the risks. I get that. Let me come across to Vivek. Vivek, are you as optimistic that a human in the loop is going to ensure that we are essentially safe? I ask this at a time when, whether it's Anthropic or Gemini or Claude or Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT are improving upon themselves at a remarkable speed. The iteration of these AI apps, which we had, let's say, 6 months back, and what we have now, completely different.
Thank you, Vishnu. I think, I think I'm optimistic that the human in loop scenario will still hold as we go along. And primarily the optimism, I think, comes from two places, right? The first is a lot of what we are seeing where, the models are pushing people to sort of release their infidelity information and so on, or there are different scenarios. All of these are actually informed by the training data set that is informing these algorithms, right? So they're mimicking the behavior that we find in the data that we're feeding, much to what Nandan was saying. So that's number one. The second part of it is the real ability of these algorithms to sort of improve themselves is still a bit of a question mark. They are improving at a remarkable speed, there is no doubt, but I think whether they will be able to get to the point where they will be completely out of control is still to be seen.
Okay. Jibu, the other big concern, of course, is jobs. I was reading, a Twitter thread just a couple of days back, which said that within even up less than a year, potentially, you could be in a situation where a lot of cognitive jobs, from journalism to law and other areas, accounting, the entry-level positions would essentially disappear. Software, who needs coders if the code is coding itself? How would you respond?
Thank you, Vishnu, for having me. I think if you look at the numbers, in the last 1 year, the net hiring of India's IT sector is 17. That means firing minus hiring. The total net hiring is 17. That's shocking. And one major role behind that number is AI. And interestingly, there is this paper by Stanford professors called Canaries in Coal Mine, which pretty much points out that entry-level jobs are gone, right? Most of the entry-level jobs, like copy editing, copywriting, even entry-level software engineering jobs, or even mid-level software engineering jobs can be replaced by some of these models, right? See, we just saw what Claude's new Opus can do a few days back only. So this creates a larger question, right? All the organizations and companies want people who has experience in AI and experience in the work field. And if entry-level jobs are going, how are they going to get that experience? Secondly, there have been sectors that completely vanished. For many years, sectors like data entry or medical data entry used to be a backbone of some of the cities in India, especially cities like Bangalore. The complete industry has vanished overnight. So it's going to come for more and more sectors, more and more industries down the line. And it's a matter of a time. We used to say that creative jobs were safe 10 years back, but we have seen what has happened now. Now people are saying emotionally, required jobs will be safe. But AI
empathy
is good.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Emotions. You know what, Nandan, a couple of months back, if Jibu and I and the three of us and me, we were having this conversation, I would have been, I would have pretended, I wouldn't have believed myself. But it is something that needs to be looked at. If you've got examples of AI targeting other AI, if you've got examples of AI potentially offering wrong advice, if you've got examples of human beings, any number, depending on AI to make decisions for ourselves, are we not potentially in trouble because the human is not on the loop? How do we ensure that the machine isn't self-limiting and can ensure that people aren't harmed?
Yeah.
Nandan.
So I think what we need to do is that we need to understand that in the AI age, the capability that you're building in the platform is the actual way or the sovereignty of how you basically control the outcomes out of it. So what is happening is that you have your compute capacity, you have your kind of data access, and you have to put guardrails around how the systems are going to interact with humans, and that is where the wisdom has to be kind of guardrailed around these systems, and that's the way it has to be protected. Now, as far as the systems where we are seeing AI talking to AI and all of that happening, so think of them as simulations. So think of them that there are two major guardrails around any AI system. One is the wisdom that you are putting around the human, and the second is the interaction of that AI model with the physical world. It can be a human being, it can be an object. So we need to put guardrails around how the AI is interacting at both these levels. And the wisdom has to be, it's the fortification of the system. When we design these things, we have to bring in the wisdom that what is absolutely non-negotiable, and those things have to be built in. All the research in all the leading platforms is about this. Everybody who's building a platform is working on this, that what is non-negotiable and how do we build these into the system so that it doesn't go wrong. But as you said, we have to continuously learn. We have to build observer agents, which observe the behavior of such agents, model the anomalies where these agents are acting anomalous, and then build it into systems. But it's a continuous loop. We can also not know that, okay, what all can go wrong. We can start with a set and then continuously evolve. So we need to build.
That's the worry. We don't have an idea ourselves. Okay, let me go back to Vivek for a moment and in fact reflect on the points that Nandan was mentioning. And this links in directly to why we are trying to do what we are in New Delhi. The Delhi Declaration, India is unveiling a comprehensive AI governance set of guidelines which emphasizes principles over strict laws. So let's have some of the details up on the screen. So this is the first point. We're calling it the 7 Sutras. You can actually go to their website and go through a lot of the key points that they are talking about. So basically governance guidelines which emphasize principles over strict laws. We want people to, good governance to ensure that things are safe. What are we talking about? Guidelines which focus on balancing innovation with risk management like bias and misuse. It has to be clean AI for as many users as possible around the world. The Delhi Declaration on Responsible AI could be adopted during the forthcoming summit. I certainly hope it does. It's something that could have a global sort of impact. The summit is organized by the Government of India to discuss global AI governance and impact. The event involves policymakers, industry leaders, and international participants, some of the finest minds in global AI. The aim is to enable trustworthy, inclusive AI deployment for real-world solutions. Jibu Elias, in a sense, this is about creating, I would suggest, the framework for laws which need to exist, because without international regulation, we could be in trouble. That's number one, but that's being idealistic. I could turn around and argue, why would America, want to potentially share some of its technology with other countries? Because there are proprietary issues over here. You want to safeguard what's valuable to you. Why would China potentially share some of its technology with others? And therefore, there could be a technology mismatch. So how would, in your opinion, this Delhi Declaration deal with some of these issues?
So for many years, there have been a larger call for a third alternative way to look at AI governance globally. Like you mentioned, the US, the European way, then you have what the China has been doing. So Delhi Declaration matters globally, not because it adds new principles, but because it connects principles to deployment realities, right? So what is emerging in Delhi, it's not, we don't want to see not another statement. What we want to see is an attempt to define how AI should be governed, where it's used at scale. In a country like India, where we have billion population and large scale deployment, right? How these safeguards can coexist with innovation, which you mentioned before, and how inclusion becomes a technical requirement, not just a moral claim. And furthermore, one of the interesting fact is how we are framing governance as an enabler and not a brake or not a restrictor, especially from a service delivery standpoint, for government standpoint of view. So many countries in the global south look up to India for to have a leadership in AI, and I think this is a great step forward. The only question here is how can we bring these other two thoughts of schools of thought on board in adopting a declaration like this?
Vivek, a common question which a lot of our viewers would want to know is India late to the large language model sort of system? Why is it that, or is it true that India's AI capabilities, both in terms of computing and in terms of the code itself, is lacking massively and that we've come late to the party?
I don't think so, Vishnu. I think if you think about the top 5 countries in the world that are dealing or that have any reasonable sense of LLM models, India is definitely up there, right? So, and we have to remember the fact that a lot of the infrastructure that is being developed has only recently started, right? So to that extent, India is definitely up there. It's in the top 5 countries. So I won't consider it to be late to the party. We are seeing what Sarvam AI has recently done. It is getting close to competing with the global models that are out there. So we're definitely up there.
Nandan, I think a great deal of our AI ambitions has to do with the availability of semiconductors and resilient supply chains. If you don't have semiconductors, if you don't have the hardware required to, or even the energy requirements to enable this massive data processing, we are in trouble. So when we talk about AI, it cannot be looked at just alone. It needs to be looked at with these factors. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, energy is the bedrock on which it is working. And once energy is there, then you work on where is the computation happening. It's happening on chips, the semiconductor piece. And then the foundational models get activated and then the application. Having said that, India has something which I think nobody else in this world has. And that is basically, I think the way we are, it's coming out in the perspective of the Delhi Declaration as well, that India can actually not just be a block in this entire thing. Like, for example, you have a US block, which is innovating, European block regulating, China block state control. India could be the convener for the global south. And that is where, India can do it very well. It can not only power the energy infrastructure. India is doing fabulously well when it comes to energy infrastructure. In fact, there's lots of learning. If you look at GAP, all these renewable and all these things that we are doing, we are moving fast on that. And on the semiconductors piece also, there is a huge mission taken up by the ministry, and I think we're doing well on that as well. So India is going to build all the foundational infrastructure, and AI is going to be a public infrastructure. We have to understand it's not an app, not a software. And India is viewing it from that perspective, and not just for India itself, for the entire global south. So yes, I agree that energy and infrastructure, the chip infrastructure is important, but we are working towards that, and we're moving very fast on that. Yeah.
Jibu, a final question: glass half empty or glass half full when it comes to the dangers of AI, right, versus the opportunities immediately ahead of us?
I think I will say glass half empty at this point because one thing we missed is we always talk about existential threat. What we miss is accumulated threat, right? We have been seeing cases of people being influenced by AI committing suicide, committing violent crimes. And many people are like kind of offloading the basic thinking process to these language models these days. I mean, as somebody who get to review a lot of academic papers, the number of AI slop related papers I'm getting is high. They're just AI generated. So at this point, right now, the harms are kind of exceeding what the benefits are supposed to get because the benefits hasn't kicked in. All these healthcare, all these education projects are still in pilot. We haven't had any mass deployment yet. So the harms right now overweight the benefits. But if we want, we can change that. The control is still in our hand.
Nandan, any last thoughts on that? What would you want to see in the Delhi Declaration beyond just the broader macro level statements of goodness and well-being and global harmony and the sharing of technologies? Would you like to see something very specific on the need to protect ourselves?
is the
Go ahead.
Vishnu, I was not able to hear you.
No, would you like to see something very specific in the Delhi Declaration beyond the broader statements?
I think this would be a Bretton Woods moment for us. I think if for not as post World War, see, AI infrastructure is going to be a power. Is going to be power, and it's the way we compute, the way we share the access to the data, and the way we train our models, and the way the models interact with the people. I think all of those things are being highlighted here. The only thing that I found, which can be, one of the major things is that how do we incentivize these things, and what is the architecture of incentivizing a particular, when we comply with such a. So it's like a soft law right now. And how do we kind of make it into an architecture? And that is where the thinking is required. Because otherwise, if you don't follow it up with an architectural thing, the soft law becomes many times,
Sure.
as you said, the broader things become rhetoric elsewhere. So I am looking for very specific incentive plans in the public procurement policies, in how we are going to incentivize this, especially in India, and then that can become a model for the other countries to do. So
Absolutely.
I think
Well, we'll
that is
certainly
the
be looking
specific
out.
point that I was
Sure.
looking for.
Well, we'll certainly be looking out for that. So we're just about getting started with the AI Impact Summit. We've got a couple of more days to go with it. Let's see what the important announcements are, and I'll certainly be looking for specifics which make a real difference. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, very much for being with us. Well, there you have it, the AI Impact Summit at the Bharat Mandapam, which you can see just behind me. Well, it looks like the Bharat Mandapam. It's actually generated by AI right over here. So AI is there in each and every aspect of our lives. The promises versus the perils, that's a theme we need to look at very, very closely. There was a Twitter thread the other day which actually said that this is a COVID-type moment. Nobody thought that anything is going to happen when COVID was first announced, and then it did. But when it comes to computing, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to online safety, there are things we need to be concerned about, which is why the timing of the AI Impact Summit in Delhi is absolutely critical. For the moment, from all of us here on the Left, Right and Center team, good night.